Hello there, welcome back to the channel. And I have been cleaning and getting things ready all day, and suddenly I hear about Mr. Driver, who played Kylo Ren in episode 9 Rise of Skywalker, leaking a script for a movie set after the sequel trilogy. And I'm excited. I know this movie isn't planned, this isn't an official release by Disney, this is a leaked script that allegedly will never happen, but hopefully with the fans' reaction to this, and we'll get onto just what's happened in a second, this is going to look really good. And even if Disney don't work on it, I think someone should. But let me cast you back, all the way back till 2015. All right, Star Wars is riding the wave. Star Wars is at its peak for what feels like forever. I don't know, I weren't alive in 99 or in 77, so I can't speak for everyone, but it does feel like 2015 gearing up to the Disney Star Wars, the first Disney Star Wars movie. There was so much merch in stores, first off. I don't think we've ever seen that much merch, even for stuff like Mando. All the shows, movies, comics, books, games, and more that we've got now. And there's still not been as much merch as there was 2014-2015 period. It was a great time. And over the next couple of years, fans weren't as happy. We rode the peak, and as the peak started coming down, instead of enjoying the roller coaster, throwing your hands up and just loving everything Star Wars, it seemed that there were more criticisms. Jump all the way forward to 2019. We don't want to recap everything that happened, because a lot happened in those 5 years, 15 to 19, including both of them. And it really felt like Disney started giving up on Star Wars, which is why people feel the way they do about media ever since 2019. Even looking at 17-18. 17 got a bit of criticism, still did well, still a lot of merch for it. 18 immediately, not as much work. Well, obviously not as much merch as The Force Awakens Last Jedi, but also not as much merch as Rogue One. Rogue One got so many. I mean, we still got a load of Lego sets for Solo, but just across the board, it felt like it started to slow down. And 2019, only got worse. We all know, most of us lived through it, and some of us might have been a bit too young, but I'm sure you still saw what was happening around and can look back on it now and understand fully. It does feel like 2019 hit, and Disney were happy to put the movie aside. However, since then, it's kind of been forgotten about, kicked under the rug. When was the last time we got a sequel trilogy Lego playset? We've been getting minifigures all throughout sets. We got this Palpatine in a book in April. Last year, we got the Dark Falcon, which gave us Darth Rey as well, who does feature quite heavily in Rebuild the Galaxy. So the sequels haven't been forgotten about. Likewise, this year, we got a Kylo Ren helmet, which we recently saw, and also Kylo Ren's shuttle. So maybe this is them bringing it back, but I also feel like they had to do something. 10 years of Force Awakens, and all we got was a buildable helmet and a shuttle? What? No, they've got to be doing better than that. Anyway, amongst the hidden figures, as of yesterday, a few hours ago, not quite 24 for me, might be a few days by the time I get around to editing this video. Like I say, doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff so we can build even more Lego mocks, and if that interests you, subscribe to the channel. There has been a script leak for a movie set after episode 9. We don't know how long after. The story really wasn't written down, every minor detail that we know of. We just know there was a script for a movie set after episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and this is a sequel, which is exactly what we need right now. The Clone Wars helped the prequels. It pushed it forward and cemented that as my favorite era of Star Wars. Likewise, we got the droid story, or droids. We got Ewoks as well that helped the original trilogy. An animated series do a lot for Star Wars, even in way of Rebels. At the minute, the sequel trilogy only has Resistance, which is good. It's good. But it's like giving... It's very much Ewoks vibes. I think droids helped the original trilogy more. Resistance is decent, but it's no Rebels, and it sure as hell ain't any Clone Wars show. We need another movie, another series, something that is directly tying into the sequels, not just Mando mentioning cloning and, mentioning the operation to bring Palpatine back. We need something directly in there. and something that will solidify the sequels for everyone else, because the sequel trilogy is kind of its own little bubble of like 6 months or so. The first 2 movies literally take place after each other, and I'm pretty sure Rey is training for 6 months. I remember reading it in one of the novelizations, but they can always change that. Before we get into the specific leaks, I want to bring you back to the end of episode 9, where we left off with, we have a few Lego minifigures. Hopefully this will help. Rey was fighting with a few of Palpatine's new Praetorian guards, which are the Jet Trooper torso flipped, I think, or the Sith Trooper, the Jet Trooper helmet, and then add in a cape to make the Praetorians. It's a very easy mock. It kind of makes sense why Lego haven't given us a minifigure yet. Rey was fighting off a ton of these guys to get to Palpatine. In the meantime, Ren fought off, or Ben Solo, as he was brought back to the light side, fought off the Knights of Ren, which I still don't have the full collection of. I need to get onto that. And for this custom minifigure, you know, all black top, legs. They could give us a little printing with a lightsaber wound, but I might even just colour that with pen or add a little decal. As you saw, we have all the minifigures from episode 9. Really easy to make a set. Hopefully we get one at some point. But we finish off the movie with Ben dying. No, hold that. Scrap that. We finish off the movie with Rey dying and Palpatine long gone, and Ben sacrifices himself to bring Rey back. Now, I've got an excerpt from the novel here, which I haven't read page to page, but I have skimmed through the novel as I've done with the other 2 sequel trilogy movies. And according to the novel, a voice came to her, Rey, through the Force, clear and strong. This is after the sacrifice has taken place. We've still got Ben laying in Rey's arms after the kiss as well. "I will always be with you," Ben said. She smiled. "Let the truth wash it over her. No one's ever really gone," she whispered, which is also, I think, what Luke says in the final trailer for episode 9. So that's really nice. It's like poetry. It rhymes. That is the Lucas Star Wars way. Even with the Disney takeover, they're still keeping that message strong and clear. But it does feel like it's saying Kylo is dead. You know, no one's ever really gone, but Kylo's not living anymore, which is the sense that we got from it at the time. However, with the new information of a sequel trilogy starring Mr. Driver, Ben Solo, being well and truly alive, this isn't a Force Ghost scenario. Although, it could have been. That's another path we can take. If Ben does live, perhaps he didn't sacrifice himself. Perhaps he didn't drain his life essence to Rey, but passed himself into Rey instead. Perhaps he even just, you know, cut the death and went straight into the Force, because we have seen Force Ghosts before, and a lot of people are saying this is not possible, including people at Disney. Don't worry, we will get onto them in a second. Disney are not out of trouble yet. The first ghost we have chronologically as part of the main story, and without, you know, getting into legends, we'll be here all day otherwise, is Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon could talk through the Force, later found a way to show up. That is very blurry right now as to how he did that, but Qui-Gon is also present in A New Hope. If you've read the From a Certain Point of View, you'll know that Qui-Gon does manifest himself in A New Hope, so it makes sense that Kenobi was ending that way. The next one was Ben, who could walk. He could, you know, have a presence, walk around and sit on a log on Dagobah, which is a step up from just merely communing with others, like some sort of psychosis through the Force. I think psychosis is the right word. It might be telekinesis, I don't really know. Either way, it's the Force, it's all one ability. Yoda could then connect through the Force. We see Yoda's ghost on Endor, next to Anakin's as well, who I haven't bullet pointed down, but you know, Anakin is another case. Anakin could fight off people. Anyway, Yoda could connect to the living world and struck down the Force tree with a nice little bit of cheeky lightning so that Luke couldn't get there. Rey had already saved the books. That I thought was really nice in the sequel trilogy. And then speaking of, let's go straight to Luke. Luke could touch. Luke saved the Skywalker saber from Rey throwing it into the fire of Kylo's shuttle, which again was really nice. Don't know why they all had to burn, but I guess nothing's ever really gone, right? We get a Force Ghost Kylo Ren shuttle. Back to Luke. Luke could touch. Leia didn't finish her training. Anakin did fight off of Sith spirits, which I don't really know how that connects because, you know, the Force Ghost, Sith spirits, I feel like that's on another plane anyway. I guess Anakin did come back to the world between worlds to fight Ahsoka and like finish training. So there's touching and then there's like full on Force, as in the Force of Anakin's saber against Ahsoka's. I digress. Let's get back on topic. Ben passed his life into Rey and Rey became a Skywalker. You know, I think it's self-explanatory. No matter what you choose, Rey is definitely a Skywalker. I'm personally hoping that she takes Skywalker on instead of Master, and Skywalker is the new Jedi. There's a video on that already. This is a very special case because it's made so clear in the novelization. Very clear in the novelization. Even in the movie and in all other content relating to this, there are Force dyad. And Force dyads are unknown. There's no one else that's a Force dyad. We've tried to like place them. Oh, maybe Anakin and Kenobi could be a Force dyad. Maybe Luke and Leia, they're twins. Could they be a Force dyad? No one's a Force dyad besides Rey and Ben. So they're a special case. Basically, it means they get away with doing anything and we can't really question the validity in canon because it just works. They say so, and that's good enough for me. The Force dyad is, to dumb it down a bit too much, because like I say, we don't know a lot about it. It's two people connected as one. Palpatine says that during the movie, and Ben shippers Rey, shipper Ben, Bay shippers Ben and Rey. They're two short names. We'll have to merge like Skywalker and Palpatine, but then I know people are going to think of Palpatine and Anakin. No matter what you want to call it, the shippers did thought that Ben was transferring a child into Rey, which seemed creepy. I know Star Wars does deal with more mature topics, and I don't think that's what they were going for whatsoever in this scene. I hate to say it. I don't want to burst your bubble. If you think that, you can think that. That's the good thing with Star Wars. But I think rather than him transferring a child, I don't even want to know how that works. Rather than him transferring a child, I think he transferred his own life essence. They're a Force dyad. If it's two as one, him bringing Rey back to life would just, you know, transfer. It's like for like. It's the same energy, which means down the road, surely that can be split and perhaps Ben can somehow return. So as opposed to Rey carrying Ben's child, Rey is actually quite literally carrying Ben with her, and this would have a whole journey for Miss Ridley to join Driver on, and perhaps there is some like Force visions. Maybe they can see each other. Maybe there are some scenes we get that are happening like more mentally, where both characters can still interact throughout the show, similar to the flashbacks in Boba or the memories in the Thrawn books, which are done really well, and I do think led some inspiration for those Boba flashbacks. Ben cannot die unless Rey does. They are one. Both of them are one. If Ben was to just straight up die, he'd kind of be sacrificing Rey as well. So the life essence can be shared, but obviously, like, they can't just spare. Well, actually, I suppose they could have just split their life essence between them if this were the case, but it wouldn't be as fun. We wouldn't have the next 3 movies of Rey's, you know, giant Jedi adventure, taking a look at all the relics, going to these other old Jedi sites, and potentially finding her way to Coruscant. And if Coruscant and the Jedi Temple feature in another Star Wars movie, hitting the big screen at the cinema, and we don't get a Master Builder's Jedi Temple, I think this would be the perfect time for Lego to introduce that, unless they're waiting for like 30 years of Phantom Menace maybe. We understand there is nothing more the current Jedi, be it Luke, Yoda, Anakin, can give Rey and Ben, and their whole Force dyad situation is basically unheard of for them, so it doesn't make sense them showing up as Force ghosts. Anakin can be over helping Ahsoka and whatever's going on over there. Perhaps Cal Kestis can have the aid from like Yoda, Kenobi, and some of the older Jedi that are somewhat connected. Luke and Leia can just enjoy their time off. I don't think there's much they need to do. Maybe explain a few things to Rey, because Luke does have that knowledge of the Force, and Leia just has political knowledge, which I feel like could help them both out very well. I don't think anyone's really politically smart, at least in the sense that Leia is in this entire era, let alone just talking about Ben and Rey. And the whole, you know, light side, dark side probably left them a little confused. Hopefully we'll find out what this script says soon, because Mr. Driver said it's one of the coolest fucking scripts I have ever been part of. And pardon my French, but this is a cool fucking idea. Steven Soderbergh and Rebecca Blunt did draft a script for it originally, and it was completed by Scott Burns. Even Kennedy loved it, of course. Kennedy's been behind basically anything good that's happened with Star Wars, and actually she's been behind basically anything anyway. But it was allegedly Bob Iger and Alan Bergman. They were both named, and they said no, given the fact that, and I quote, they didn't see how Ben Solo was alive. End the quote there. In a world where droids have their own free will, we see that with basically look into any droid well enough, you'll see they have their own free will. We've got ghosts communing. We've just spoken about Force Ghosts. Ghosts communing with the living. Space Wars. Star Wars. Wars in space. I don't think I need to go on, but I have made a list. Boba surviving the Sarlacc, planets getting blown up, and my favourite, an asthmatic burn victim jumps an entire flight of stairs. I'm asthmatic. I can take the mickey out of this because it would take me at least 3 hops. But no, the guy that scared Luke Skywalker because of his raw potential, no way he could do anything new. I do think that is summarising it a bit too much. There's probably a few more issues at hand, like the fact that episode 7, 8 and 9, I don't know why I had to think so much on that, were quite controversial at the time they've come out, and since then, you know, people have only had more and more time to complain. When has fans complaining ever stopped Disney from doing anything? Really think about it. Is there any time that fans complaining has made Disney stop? Fans complain at every Disney movie. Disney is so big, it does not have the ability to do anything without, you know, thousands, potentially millions of people complaining. And that's what you get for having that much attention. Imagine this channel but add like a million zeros at the end of the subscribers. Exactly. It's the perfect balance. With a bigger following, you're going to get more negativity. And I do want to know, I would love to be in the room where it happened, as they say in Hamilton. And I would have loved to have heard reasoning as to why this movie was rejected, because I think this is exactly what the sequel trilogy needs. As someone who would even rank the sequels lower than the prequels, the originals, in a 1 to 9 tier list, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying I prefer the other ones. You know, if the sequels are the worst of the list, I think all the movies are pretty good. I would love to see not just this script, but any content around this era, any stories that weave themselves into the sequel trilogies. I think we need right now, and now more than ever, 10 years after The Force Awakens come out, and it feels like Star Wars is, you know what, just sitting around the original trilogy. We've got the Mandoverse, which is slightly after. We have Kenobi, Andor, which is slightly before, and despite the fact that Kenobi was in the prequels, let's not forget it was Mr. Guinness in A New Hope that introduced the character. We don't have any prequel. I guess they revived Clone Wars and we've got Bad Batch. We do have some prequel content, but there's nothing on the sequel trilogy right now. We really need something. We also saw for episode 9, and I did cover this a fair bit at the time because we were doing Star Wars content as opposed to Lego. Don't worry, we're not going back anytime soon. This is very much a Lego channel, but I had to touch on this because episode 9 original title, Duel of the Fates, was a whole script written out before it was scrapped, and we've since seen not only concept art, but I have the entire script for Duel of the Fates on my phone. I have read through the first half of it, and then I never got around to completing that. But if Disney were to release this script and maybe even charge for it, put it in a book, sell the book as an idea. We've got so many books that, you know, it's not canon. They're not saying it happened, but they can make a bit of money off it and let the fans do the work. Let some fan productions. I see the clips on YouTube of all these trailers for fan-made movies coming out. Let the fans do the work. And if they like it, they can go make it a real thing, or they can just sit there and, you know, kick themselves for not doing it originally. And if the script does ever come out, I will be sitting right here, impatiently waiting, because patience is for Jedi. We're not Jedi, we don't have to be patient, and I will definitely be making a few Lego mocks out of it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole situation with Mr. Driver, with Disney, with Star Wars, and more importantly, with the sequel trilogy. Love it or hate it, we need some more content. I can't wait to see what you say in the comments, and until next time, may the bricks be with you always.